City of Adelaide Council meeting on Tuesday, 12 May 2026. The Lord Mayor is in the chair. This council meeting will be streamed live and recorded for publishing to the internet. Please note that an audio and visual recording is being taken of this meeting. This means that your presence at and any contribution you make to the meeting may be collected, used, disclosed or published publicly by the council, including transferring outside Australia.
Adelaide acknowledges the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains as the traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. We acknowledge and honour their spiritual and cultural stewardship of this country and recognise their deep and enduring relationship with its land, waters, sky and all living things. We pay our respects to Kaurna elders past and present and recognise the important role of emerging leaders in sustaining and strengthening culture. The Council acknowledges the vision of Colonel William Light in determining the site of Adelaide and the design of the city, with its 6 squares and surrounding belt of continuous parklands, which is recognised on the National Heritage List as one of the greatest examples of Australia's planning heritage. We pray for wisdom, courage, empathy and understanding, and guidance in the decisions that we make while seeking and respecting the opinions of others. May we in this meeting speak honestly, listen attentively, think clearly, and decide wisely for the good governance of the City of Adelaide and the well-being of those we serve. I now ask all those present to stand in silence in memory of those who gave their lives in defence of the country, at sea, on land and in the air. Thank you, members. Please be seated. We have apologies this evening. I understand from Councillor Kouros and Councillor Abrahimzadeh. I now ask if anyone would be prepared to move the confirmation of minutes. Councillor Snape moved, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? No? Members, will move on to the next item. We had 2 requests for deputations. I understand Mr Buckland has now withdrawn his request. He may come in the future, perhaps. But Mr Monty, are you in the gallery? I can't, yes, sorry, I can't see. Mr Monty, would you come up to the lectern, please? We have a 5-minute deputation allowed for you this evening. Thank you.
Good evening, councillors, and good evening, Lord Mayor. My name is Matt Monty. I'm the president of the Adelaide Parklands Association. I want to begin by apologising, Lord Mayor, for the late request for a deputation, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to council today. As I'm sure you're all aware, the issues around Possum Park and the Adelaide Parklands are rapidly developing, and time has not been our friend. The Adelaide Parklands Association have been campaigning against the redevelopment of the North Adelaide Golf Course for over a year now. When Possum Park and John E. Brown Park were under the council's custodianship, we held out hope for a constructive conversation with council, with community and the state government. Unfortunately, since the introduction of the North Adelaide Golf Course Act, which seized the 2 aforementioned parks and exempted the redevelopment from most state laws, both the community and this council have been ignored by the state government. I want to thank councillors who have attended and supported our campaign events during this time, and indeed thank yourself, Lord Mayor, firstly for your efforts to address attendees at our Stop the Chop forum, despite being overseas at the time, and for your recent comments in the public realm around council's disappointment with this project. The Adelaide Parklands Association understands that council is very limited in its options to stop this redevelopment, But residents and ratepayers of this council, especially up in my patch of North Adelaide, are crying out to stop the chop. Yesterday saw the beginning of tree loss in the park, and some of our supporters have even found injured wildlife around the site, leading us to question whether the exemptions from environmental and wildlife laws are being taken advantage of. Our petition on change.org has exploded in recent weeks, with over 37,000 signatures now. Our rallies and protests are far exceeding our own expectations when it comes to attendance, and indeed we expect another massive turnout tomorrow evening at our protest on the steps of Parliament. Over the past week, I have been flooded with interview requests from radio, TV and print, all asking what is happening, what will we do, and what the community sentiment is. Which brings me to why I am here addressing you all tonight. While council might not have legal power to stop this council certainly has authority and sway with the South Australian public. Residents and ratepayers are looking to council for support. They know that the ultimate power lies with the Premier. It is him and him alone who can put a stop to this destruction. But council has the ability to weigh in, to put your thumb on the scale. We are asking that this council exercise whatever options it has to make noise, to stand up and to fight back. While we appreciate the support we've had from council up to this point, now is the time to do whatever you can. It is now or never for all of us. Our community feels that, the media feels that, and we hope council feels that. So please, in whatever way you all can, help us save this park. Some of the 585 trees have already come down, and we cannot bear to lose many more. The Adelaide Parklands Association and our supporters will not stop fighting to save this park. As long as one of those 585 trees is still standing, we will continue fighting. Because if we can save even one tree in this park, it is worth that fight. We ask that council stand with us and help us hold the Premier accountable for this decision. Before I finish, I also want to flag future attacks on the parklands and say that we would love to continue working with council to protect them from the state government. We are particularly worried about the upcoming changes to the eastern parklands for MotoGP. Many of our members, and I'm sure residents and ratepayers of this council, are deeply concerned about even more trees being lost as the Premier continues to snatch up more and more of the parklands. So thank you for your time. We hope to continue building a relationship with council so we can work together and protect what is an incredibly important, unique and special part of the City of Adelaide.
Much. We'll now, thank you. We'll now move on to the next part of the agenda. We don't have any petitions.
Lord Mayor, might I please seek leave of the meeting to jump forward a little bit, given the audience that we have, to a motion without notice?
I think there's probably a request for several items to be brought forward. I think Councillor Davis also wants items brought forward.
Well, this matter relates to
Councillor Ma's motion.
the deputation
Okay.
we've just heard.
In that case, I'm just trying to check the items. Can I have the Lord Mayor's report brought forward first, because I don't want to debate the issue, but I'd like to make a comment. So could I have 15 and 18 brought forward? Let's leave sort. All those in favour? Counts against? That's carried. Thank you. I wish to make some comments, but not debate the motion that I understand is going to be brought up without notice. I want to make some comments relating to the position of the councils to make sure that everyone has the context of the debate. So in the past fortnight, the most significant events in the city have centred on our parklands. As members know, I've actively opposed the North Adelaide Public Golf Course Act 2025 since it passed through the South Australian Parliament in what can best be described as warp speed in June. Whilst this legislation seizes assets from the City Council, its implications extend far beyond our municipality and the open space we had previously protected. Indeed, it sets a very troubling precedent for how the third tier of government, the closest to the people, will be treated by the state government into the future. To reiterate, the North Adelaide Public Golf Course Act 2025 affects more than 10% of the Adelaide parklands. It allows the state to incorporate additional land if they wish. It changes the land designation from Crown land to fee simple, which is the way that most of our property is designated. It removes the land from the care and control of the council. It transfers all infrastructure and buildings. It required all existing leases to be cancelled. It prevents council from charging any fees or licences, and it precludes any compensation to the City of Adelaide for the assets that have been taken. But most concerning, of course, to the community is that it designates all proposed developments as deemed to comply and removes certain events, major events, from any EPA oversight. But coming from local government, perhaps the most extraordinary part of the Act for us is that it explicitly states that if the Adelaide City Council fails to comply with the direction of the Minister may take any action necessary as if the Minister were the Adelaide City Council. Now, when I stood with the Premier at Grange Golf Club to announce Liv Golf's move to North Adelaide from 2028, it was in good faith and the belief that we would be equal partners. That's what makes the above clauses all the more disappointing, because this council voted to cooperate and assist the state government in good faith. We were led to believe that there would be a collaborative process resulting in a memorandum of understanding that, as a minimum, would provide clarity around operations, event management, and communication with our residents. To support that process, the council staff shared soil data, topography, heritage reports, irrigation information, tree mapping, and planting data. The staff, our staff, developed an accelerated Gantt chart with a 6-month time frame of legislative compliance to accommodate the state government's urgent upgrade. Council also produced a draft lease and MOU documents. Yet despite our best efforts to provide assistance, no meaningful agreement could be reached except, and I have to say I'm eternally grateful for this, it's one important benefit from the negotiations, that we retained the employment and entitlements of all our staff working on the site. Now, it wouldn't surprise you that had the timelines we provided for public consultation and submission for proper approvals been adhered to, then the state government could have achieved their aspirations within the 6 months they asked and without any reference to the Parliament. Instead, what we have is what could be called draconian or a heavy-handed legislative manoeuvre, one that reflects an absolute failure of the parliamentary process to properly interrogate the detail of the legislation or appreciate the enormity of the precedent it establishes for councils across South Australia. Finally, I believe the government has fundamentally underestimated the public's attachment to our national heritage-listed parklands. 42 million visits are made to the parklands every single year for events, for sport, for recreation, and simply to exist in nature alongside our native flora and fauna. Now, some may once have argued that the former police barracks site was not real parklands. But when you add the North Adelaide Golf Course and then consider the future changes to Victoria Park, it begins to look less like an exception and more like a pattern. And I suspect that when we look back from the vantage point of 2036, our city's bicentenary, citizens will recognise this decade as the period in which the greatest damage was done to our most precious civic asset, our parklands. Could someone note my report? Moved by Councillor Snape, seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour? Against? I think you have to vote, Councillor Kabada. Against? Do you want to vote against it or for it? Can we vote again? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you, members. Now, so Councillor Marr, do you want to move your motion?
I do wish to move this motion without notice, and I apologise for the late circulation.
It's seconded by Councillor Snape.
Now, this motion, while it appears quite detailed, it is rather simple. It is asking our CEO and our Lord Mayor to write a total of 3 letters to 3 bodies who have the power to act. In a way, it is doing exactly what the Parklands Association President has just asked us to do, which is to put our thumb on the scale, use our political sway, use our public service impact, and do what we can to protect the parklands that we have protected for the last nearly 200 years. The North Adelaide Public Golf Course Act is another example of a special purpose legislation that the state government has passed. I remember being involved in one of those myself with the Crown and Anchor Hotel. And at the time it was said that this would not become the rule, this would not be business as usual. And it appears it has become business as usual. We are noticing a pattern of single purpose legislation for certain developments that the state government supports. In this case, the development is on our National Heritage listed parklands. The entire project site is contained within that National Heritage listed space, and therefore it should be subject to a review by the Commonwealth Minister for the Environment. That review, compliant with the provisions in the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act, is federal law. It is not trumped by the state law, and to our understanding, there has not been a referral for that assessment. This motion asks our CEO, the Public Service, to write to the Secretary of the Department, the Public Service, to exercise their powers for an assessment referral under the EPBC Act. It also asks the Lord Mayor to write to the Commonwealth Minister and to the Premier to exercise our political power in requesting our referral and an assessment of this development. Importantly, and for the benefit of all of those who are not within Council, it also asks that these letters be made public, unlike many of the other dealings to do with this particular development. I urge you all to support it. It is quite a simple motion. It appears detailed, it is quite simple. It covers off all the legal beats that we need to. And I think it does what the people would like us to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Snape, do you wish to speak to this motion?
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you for your words earlier in your report and your ongoing, many decades, if I might say, of support for our parklands. Thank you. And thank you, Councillor Marr, for taking the lead with the crafting of this motion. Your expertise far beyond mine in the writing of such motions. And thank you to all the other councillors who've expressed support for our parklands, who turn up to rallies, who have been to events, who've sent their apologies to various things, and just shown genuine support to our community and to our parklands. Lord Mayor, it's been nearly a year since the state government passed that legislation, and this legislation, the actual seizing of the parklands, came into effect only 2 short weeks ago. When care and control was removed from the City of Adelaide, the guardians of the parklands for over 175 years. I also want to take this moment to acknowledge the thousands of years of custodianship of Possum Park, built to Wardley by the Kaurna people before that. The lack of transparency and accountability surrounding this development is deeply concerning, with even the council largely kept in dark with what's going on and what is to be expected. Like thousands of others across the state, I am deeply saddened and dismayed by the current destruction occurring as we speak in Possum Park by this state government. The petition, as we've heard already, has more than quadrupled in the last 2 weeks, and the plight of our beloved parklands is being heard across the state and indeed now across the nation. And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank Senator Sarah Hanson-Young for her words of support for Possum Park in the Federal Senate earlier today. Yesterday, I was notified quite early in the morning, shortly after doing a radio interview with 5AA on this exact matter, that activity was occurring on the site. I got down there as quickly as I could, as did many other concerned residents and citizens. My role that I chose yesterday was to document, to record, social media, take photos, etc. But there was others there taking more direct action, banners, and likewise also recording. I personally have witnessed, as of yesterday, 2 huge century-old trees cut down. We know it's more than that. This is just what I witnessed. 2 huge century-old trees cut down. The immediate silence of the birds in the area was deafening. I spent a good portion of the afternoon at Gate C, just off Strangways Terrace. And at one point, a couple of marvellous volunteers from the Hills Wildlife Guardians, Native Animal Rescue, stopped by with an injured rainbow parakeet, which was they had rescued from the carnage. I spent a few solemn moments with the poor little fella before they took him off to a vet. Members, a little over an hour ago, I read on ABC Online that due to a serious number of injuries, including a broken clavicle, that little bird had to be euthanised. So that was very, very saddening, and it's, it adds a human touch from my own personal experience of this. I'll need an extension, Lord Mayor, 2 minutes. Thank you, Lord Mayor. Thank you, councillors. Look, I am deeply saddened by what is going on, and I do want to acknowledge the presence in the gallery of so many wonderful concerned residents and citizens who have been fighting this cause, some for over a year, some more recently, but each and every voice valid and valued and part of this wonderful movement. So thank you for being here today. And I recognise many faces from the rally, the event on Sunday, which quickly turned into a rally for Mother's Day. So thank you for being there, and my fellow councillors who attended that. And also thank you to those in the gallery who were in attendance, both yesterday when I was there on site, but also today, and I'm sure into the future. Members, it's easy for me to make an environmental argument, an emotional argument around wildlife and the trees. I have done so, and I can go on for hours doing so, but I'd also like to take the opportunity to make an economic argument. There isn't one. There is no economic argument. No strong business case has been put forward by the state government for this redevelopment, for this upgrade. A lot of people with significantly more golfing knowledge than myself have stated that to cover the costs of this redevelopment, far more people than physically possible must go through the course, that is pay to do a game, through the course, than can physically be done, and substantially more tournaments than what is being proposed. As of yesterday, it's also been brought to my attention that obviously with the collapse of Live Golf, which was the whole purpose of this redevelopment, the Australian Open is actually unlikely to be held here as often as the Premier of South Australia has implied. We know we're going to get 3 tournaments within 6 years, but it has been brought to my attention on 5AA by a well-regarded golfing expert that, in fact, once that period is finished, that the Adelaide Golf Course will go into a nationwide rotation where we might be lucky to have...
Councillor, you're straying into golf courses now. This is about the EPBC.
The golf course development. Apologies. All right, I'll sum up 30 seconds, Lord Mayor, and I'll leave that bit alone. Look, this motion directs the council, as discussed, to contact the federal department and contact the minister. While this does not guarantee the department and the minister will take up the case and call a halt to proceedings while development is investigated, this motion is, I think, the last possible thing that council can do. But we must not leave any stone unturned in our efforts to stop this destruction and slaughter. Our community expect no less, and those animals displaced and killed in Possum Park deserve no less.
Thank you,
Members,
Councillor.
I thank you for your time and encourage you to support the motion.
Councillor, and then Deputy Lord Mayor.
And look, I think this motion is all very well, and I must admit I only just got it just before I sat down. We all agree with this issue. We actually have been grappling with this issue, as the Lord Mayor has described, over 12 months of trying to deal with a government that, on one hand, speaks the words, and then on the other hand, does you in the back by pushing through legislation that takes away the ability to ever have an influence. It's not the first time this has happened. It happened in the Women's and Children's Hospital. Luckily, we managed to change the government's mind in relation to the police barracks. And then this is the latest example of government rushing through legislation just to get what they want done. overriding the Heritage Act, the Environmental Protection Act, the Planning Act, the Parklands Act, the Local Government Act, the only act of state politics that's left in place under this proposal, under the Live Golf Act, is the Aboriginal Heritage Act. But then Aboriginal people, Kaurna people, were only given 2 weeks of consultation, and there was one meeting to be held at Mawson Lakes, and it was this council that actually stood up and said that is just untenable. You need to give the traditional owners of this place more time, and we were able to push the timeline. And now there's an agreement with the Kaurna people about the management of Aboriginal heritage in just that section of the park which is closest to the river, a very, very important part of our state's history, but mostly a very, very important part for the Kaurna people, and almost like the place where the Kaurna language was saved and preserved so it's spoken today. So there's some huge issues here, and I think that writing letters is all very well, but if we think we're going to fix it by writing letters, then I don't think that's the case, so we need to continue to campaign. We have a new parliament. I would urge that we sit together and work out how we can put pressure on the current parliament to do things like open up the contract that Greg Norman's construction company has signed with the state government. Like we've never seen any plans, let alone the contract that was promised there. We need to make sure that the proposal to put in a motorcycle race in the city doesn't end up in exactly the same way. It will, so far from what the information that we have, is that it will be even more destructive than what's going on at the golf course.
So, Councillor Giles, can you keep on the track here?
So, yes, we could write letters. I hope this is not the end of this conversation. I would prefer. Can I just have one more minute?
Leave sort. If we all have extra time, we'll do it till midnight.
Yeah, it will be very quick. It's a very, I think that what the community needs to know is that the Adelaide City Council will always protect the parklands. The mayor's offered to take it back now that Live Golf has died, but we have a stubborn, pig-headed premier that will not change his mind. So we need to change his mind, and writing letters won't change his mind. I'm happy to support this tonight, but I hope that we can work together with people to come up with some more strategies about ways of dealing with this, or we'll just be repeating this situation again and again.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Lord, can I ask the gallery not to intervene, please? Thank you. Deputy Lord Mayor.
Hard act to follow. Look, the key point here and what we're saying is, given the national heritage status of the Adelaide Parklands and the scale of tree removals being reported, Council should urgently satisfy itself that the Commonwealth environmental law position has been properly considered before the irreversible works continue. This motion does not overclaim that Council can legally stop the works tonight. Instead, it says Council is seeking an urgent pause while the EPBC and heritage position is clarified. This is important because the state government may now control parts of the project area or be proceeding under its own statutory pathway. Time is not on our side. This is why this is a very urgent issue. But I have a question through the Lord Mayor. I have been inundated, and I know some of the other councillors have as well, on why can't Council do something about this? I think I actually raised this issue in a previous council meetings when my concern was that the state government was going to make all the decisions and council would receive all the backlash from the community. And I asked that some communication was put out to the community, to some sort of press release or whatever communication, to actually say that we had no authority here. Legislation was actually passed, and basically we had no authority to do anything. And I don't think the community know that. They do not understand that. And this is really difficult because we are not part of the decisions here. And yet we're, like I said, copping the crap. And at the end of the day, it is so unfair that we should be put in this position when we were actually playing quite nice with the government when we were discussing all of this. And at the end of the day, all of a sudden legislation was actually thrown at us. And I think it's really important that the community actually know this.
Can you just help me with the question? I lost the thread temporarily.
Well, the question is, have we actually put out any comms to the public that we were,
I can't answer that at the moment. I'll have to take it on.
and I know that the CEO did give guarantees that he would actually do that because I asked that question. And I actually think it's really important because council...
Thank you. I'm just getting an answer on that one.
Through the presiding member, my recollection is that we did issue a media release with all the communication and consultation material that was provided to us by the state government, which importantly directs all community inquiries to a dedicated 1300 number and the DPC website.
Well, I missed that and so did a whole lot of community members. When was that actually issued, please, CEO?
On or about the 24th of April, but we can reissue this week.
Thank you. And Councillor Davis next, then Councillor Siebentreut, and then Councillor Freeman. Councillor Davis.
What strikes me about this entire debate is not the loss of the trees, it is the silence that came before the chainsaws. For months, the community has watched as plans emerged to remove mature trees from the parklands. Yet where was the coordinated advocacy from this council? Where were the resident letter drops? Where was the public campaign? Where was the increase in financial support for community advocacy groups like the Adelaide Parklands Association to mount the fight? In fact, Councillor Giles set out a long list of things the council could be doing to protect our parklands, but has not done. In fact, this motion is a last-minute thought bubble, not even placed on the agenda in time. This is a motion to send 3 letters and a clear demonstration that this council has not done nearly enough to defend our parklands. I think there is one thing that is very clear. This council has not been effective in protecting our parklands. During the state election campaign, there wasn't a whisper from this council about the loss of the trees. And what makes that silence even more remarkable is the composition of this chamber. We have former Labor candidates, former union officials, even a former Labor cabinet minister, individuals with deep political connections and influence within the Labor movement and the state government. Even when we have government employees sitting around this table, these are not people without access or influence. These are political heavyweights. Yet despite all of that political capital, despite all of those connections, despite all of those relationships to the very government making these decisions, the practical response from this council was near silence until the trees were already falling. And that is what residents notice, not the speeches after the fact, not the motions once the outcome has already been underway.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. The member has shown no interest in supporting the parklands himself and is now doing a bit of a backfiring thing and attacking the parklands. It's a load of hogwash. You've done nothing, councillor.
That's not a point of order. Can you sit down? Councillor Davis.
Residents notice whether their elected members were willing to enter the fight early, publicly and consistently when it actually mattered. Lord Mayor Jane Lomax-Smith said people could support Labor but still oppose the golf course redevelopment. The Minister for Adelaide, Lucy Hood, was elected this year in a landslide. The Labor government is going ahead with its plans. Advocacy is not issuing statements once the chainsaws arrive. Advocacy is pressure before decisions become irreversible. And the uncomfortable reality is this. If this chamber truly considered the parklands sacred, untouchable, and worth defending at all costs, the community would have seen a very different level of political resistance long before tonight. Actions matter louder than words, and no matter the words from councillors tonight, there has been little to no action from this council. I think that sets out where the council's true interests lie, and I think it is shameful that we have not done more to advocate for the protection and preservation of one of South Australia's most valuable resources, our open space.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Stephen-Trent.
I'll be brief, Lord Mayor. I think the Deputy Lord Mayor made some important points earlier on in communicating clearly Council's current role. I understand that there may have been a media release issued previously. Could we have an undertaking from the administration that information that was referred to earlier could be included on our website, just to clarify what is our ongoing responsibility so the community is clear, and that way it helps them direct their feedback?
Through me to the CEO or Mr Haridis, I'm not sure who will respond.
Through the presiding member, happy to provide that undertaking.
Have you finished speaking, Councillor?
Yeah, thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I really think the crux of the community concern that's circulating at the moment comes down to a lack of public information. You know, I think many people support major events in this state, including me. It's no easy feat to secure an international event in Adelaide, which many consider to be a backwater, and I really respect the efforts made to bring that event to Adelaide. But at the same time, those same people also deeply respect that Adelaide is already on the international map for being the only and first city within a park, and understandably, people like to protect those features and feel nervous if they're under threat. I mean, for me, I really think we can have both. I think we can have a world-class golf course, but also protect the parkland setting that it is within. And I'm certain that these efforts are being made to achieve both of these outcomes. It's just that people don't know what those efforts are. I'm not going to give everyone a lecture about what change management is, but effectively good change management is telling people about the change before it happens. If people know what's happening, it builds reassurance, trust, understanding, acceptance. Conversely, not knowing what change is happening builds outrage, upset, panic, which is what seems to be happening at the moment. And I base that off of correspondence and comments that I've seen and received in the last week to the effect of, why has the City of Adelaide done this? What is the City of Adelaide doing about it? How could we let this happen, and what are we doing next? When, of course, the truth is, this is not our project. We are powerless to do anything about it. But for our ratepayers and residents and communities, that's a nuance that is lost on them, and to be honest, really can't be expected that they understand. I think we're all being inundated with emails like that at the moment. The Lord Mayor certainly is, our staff are, and today one of our maintenance personnel was approached by a member of the public asking why they were maintaining the parklands, which is their job. So I really think it's getting to a point of desperation where people need answers. I see in this motion that this seeks some of the answers to questions that keep cropping up that I think may alleviate some of that panic. I also see this as an opportunity for us to work together with the state government. We are the City of Adelaide Council. We're the front door. There's going to be more complaints and more concern, and people are going to come to us for answers. If we are not equipped with the right information to answer those questions, this will continue to perpetuate. We may not be the arms and legs of this project, but we can certainly be the ears. So all I would like to say is that I think this is a good gesture, that the questions to the community's concerns are really important. We will do what we can to... I'm almost done, 20 seconds, thank you.
Thank you. Are you asking to speak longer?
Yes, just 20 seconds.
Leave has been sought. All those against, it's carried. Thank you.
I simply see this as us exercising our role as the Capital City Council to help seek answers to those questions, so that in the long term, as this project progresses, it can happen with the greatest chance of success, and we can provide that customer service role, which is what we're established to do.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Kabada.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you to my fellow councillors for noting their strong sentiment towards the parkland. Lord Mayor, we received this motion without notice very late, and I haven't had the chance to have a look at Section 70 of the EPBC Act. I don't even know what that means, and I'm being asked to vote on something I don't understand or have had a chance to look at. So,
Can I get
yes,
clarification?
yes,
I appreciate that.
yes.
Could I ask through you, CEO, to have this clarified?
Through the presiding member, Mr Harides, can you, at an executive summary level, unpack the Act?
Well, I was just hoping to get it tabled, Lord Mayor.
It's a Commonwealth Act, and there are referral powers, and there's self-referral, and they make decisions. But I think Mr Harides is better at explaining it than me.
Thank you, and through the chair, noting also that whilst the Act is a federal Act and is available publicly, to just help guide council, I'm happy to deal with some of the references. What the motion seeks to address and was provided to administration so we could just confirm the references is the ability either for self-referral of the proponent, which in this case is the state government agency, Department of Premier and Cabinet, to look at its compliance with the federal Act, or to seek the federal government to call it in. And Section 70 specifically that you've asked for is that the federal minister may request referral of the proposal. So if their assessment is that there's something to look at, they can call it in and see if the proposal aligns or conflicts with the Environment Protection, Biodiversity and Conservation Commonwealth Act.
Could I just ask a follow-up question? Part 5 surprises me a little because I know how slowly the corporation moves. Can we get this out and public by close of business tomorrow?
Through the presiding member, I would challenge the slow movingness of the council administration, but we'd have a much better chance of fully acquitting the motion if we had 48 hours rather than 24.
Is the CEO suggesting a variation of the date to 14th of May?
Through the presiding member, if the chamber was prepared to vary it to the 14th, I think we'd have a much better set of letters to go.
I think till the end of the week would be good.
I'd be happy to accept that as a variation from the chair.
Can I and so is the seconder, but Councillor Kabadi, you haven't had your money's worth.
No, I'm still I appreciate the high level overview, Lord Mayor. I'm still not comfortable voting on the EPVC Act. I don't think I've had sufficient time to have a look at it or read it. I'm going to require the CEO to table any council documents or advice relating to the EPVC Act, sections referred to in this motion, so I can properly have a look at them. Otherwise, I refuse to vote of this motion without notice.
Can I ask if you're requesting Section 18?
I am requesting Section 18.
Are you calling a
Yes.
18?
Yes.
Okay. Can we can defer this matter then and table it later, can we?
Mr Davis, Lord Mayor.
Would that help you?
I haven't had enough time. We're asking you to write to the Minister, to write to the Premier, and I don't even understand what the Acts do or say. I don't know how. I don't feel comfortable in doing that.
No, I told that, and I understand you're calling.
No, we didn't.
Can you just sit down for a moment, Councillor, and we'll just...
And I've got a point of order, Lord Mayor. Councillor Snape just called me a moron.
What? No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
Councillor, sit down. Councillor Snape,
I did not, Lord Mayor. I
Then what did you say?
let's not have a conversation.
Stand up and say it.
No, please.
I'm not being harassed.
Gentlemen, councillors, please stop it. We're not having a rabble in here. I just think you've got to pull back from this conversation while I'm getting advice. Councillor Davis, we don't need help from you at the moment. Just let's get advice from the administration.
Through the presiding member, we will now proceed to print hard copies of Section 68 through to 71 of the EBC Act, and we can bring that back in. I'd suggest the rest of the business, you continue with the rest of the business in the meantime.
Do we have to have a motion to...
Can I please move a motion that we go into informal so that, because I've been trying to read through the Act, I don't understand what a prescribed action is. Can we please go into informal so we can have advice from the administration?
I'm happy to do that, but we'll get some printing done first.
Well, we can do it concurrently.
No, could you sit down? I'm happy. We'll do that, but we'll get the printing first. Can I suggest we go to item 14 so that we can get some substantive business done?
Well, no, can can I move a motion that we go into informal so that the administration can explain to us what the provisions of the Act do and what the effect of these notices would be?
Thank you for your question, councillor. I've agreed to defer the item or wait for the item
I'd like to move a motion to that effect, that we move into informal so that we can seek an advice and explanation from the administration about how this works.
Dissent from the chair?
No, I'm moving that we move into informal so that we can have a discussion about how this legislation works, rather than being surprised at the very last moment when none of us here have a real appreciation of what the powers are of this council, because we've now found this provision that could apparently save our parklands, and the administration, this council has received nothing in terms of advice. So I'm asking that we go informal so the administration could help us understand what these provisions do.
Thank you. I'm seeking the printed copies because that was what we were asked for. I'm rejecting that request because Councillor Cabardo has called an 18 and he sought documentation, and that's the motion that I have to
It's a separate motion. It's separate from what Councillor Cabardo is asking. I'm asking a separate motion so we can have this explained to us so we can move forward with it. It's a formal motion.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. You have issued a ruling.
I've issued a
Please
ruling.
ask the member to be seated.
I've issued a ruling. I've asked the member to sit down. I think we should move on to the next item while we're getting the printing done, and that way we can at least get...
Lord Mayor, I move that we go to item 14.1.
Thank you. Do I have support for that? Deputy Lord Mayor, all those in favour? All those against? That's carried. Thank you. So item 14.1.
I'll need to declare a material conflict of interest.
Yes, you declare
but I
an
would
interest?
seek leave to provide a personal explanation before the
I
item.
think that as a matter of process, I've sought advice on this. We should deal with the item and then have your personal explanation later.
Okay, if you so wish. Thank you.
Thank you very much, councillor. Have we got a form filled out? We can get that later. We'll get the form later, councillor. Thank you. Now we move to item 14.1, and that's being moved by councillor Martin. Is it seconded by councillor Cabardo? Thank you. So councillor Martin.
Lord Mayor, I am moving the motion as printed with a variation to the grammar. At paragraph 4, it says that Councillor Davis be reprimanded. It should be is reprimanded. That is the current action of the council, and therefore that would be grammatically appropriate.
I have had advice that this has been a very heavily legal document, but changing the verb to a more assertive point, I think, will be quite reasonable. Thank you. And it's seconded by councillor Cabardo.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I trust, just as by way of a preamble, that we won't be keeping the gallery too much longer in providing the information that would enable the discussion of the previous item. But, Lord Mayor, this is also a serious matter. It is a report that we are considering that represents the third instance in this term of council where the integrity provisions of the Local Government Act have attracted the attention of the Ombudsman.
Some of those items may be confidential. I ask you to be very careful. Can you stick to the documentation?
Yes, certainly, Lord Mayor.
It's very important that we stick to our knitting with this, because it's a legal instruction from the Ombudsman that we have to comply with, and I think we shouldn't stray into discussing previous issues because we're only dealing with one item.
I understand that entirely, Lord Mayor, and I was merely seeking to emphasise the seriousness. This, by the way, Lord Mayor, is the first time the subject of the report, as the Ombudsman has noted, actually invited the attention of the Ombudsman, taunting, tell the Ombudsman. The Ombudsman was indeed interested where Councillor Davis has twice declined to follow the provisions of the Local Government Act, even in the face of warnings. I thought genuine nudges, generous nudges, if not from you, Lord Mayor, that the councillor was at risk of breaching the Local Government Act if he proceeded with his action. His actions in breaching the Act are at page 148, in the words of the Ombudsman, a breach of the integrity provisions, both intentional and serious, so as to amount to misconduct in public administration. Now, Councillor Davis's defences were rejected, and also, interestingly, the Ombudsman noted at page 148 that the Ombudsman was concerned at Councillor Davis's seemingly flippant attitude towards the expenditure of public resources investigating this type of conduct. That's his conduct. And extraordinarily, from a councillor who has raised more than once concerns about expenditure on what seem to be, to me, essential items such as committee structures. Now, Lord Mayor, I will add nothing further to the Ombudsman's findings. It is clear that the Ombudsman has made a very serious finding. It must be taken seriously. I urge elected members to support this item as proposed, and in so doing, reprimand the councillor.
Prize? No, sorry. They're just waving. Sorry. Councillor Marr.
Thank you. Just a question. That Councillor Davis is recommended to be reprimanded. Do we have to take further action to give that some life?
I have asked whether this is a restricted piece of advice, and my advice is that it is, but I'll ask the CEO.
Through the presiding member, the resolution of council in the form before you constitutes the reprimand.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll keep it pretty brief. And just to say, I also acknowledge the Ombudsman's findings here, and it is, as Councillor Martin said, a very serious finding indeed, and in my opinion, goes towards that particular councillor's attitudes towards treating this council. And
I think, Councillor, we ought not to stray into other matters.
I'll just say, I understood, Lord Mayor, I'll just say the councillor's work speaks for it.
Limit your discussion here, but the Ombudsman's instructions are very clear, and they have given us 4 jobs in terms of publication, decision-making, reprimand, requesting an apology, I've got up to 5, sorry, and retraining, and we have to implement those, but I think we need to be very careful about...
Understood, Lord Mayor. I'll simply say that the councillor's work speaks for itself, and I support the findings of the Ombudsman. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Comments? Councillor Cabana? Councillor Martin, do you wish to sum up? Summed up. We'll take them en bloc, all those together. Everyone in favour, please? Sorry? En bloc, is that all right? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Could we bring the councillor back and thank him for waiting outside?
Lord Mayor, can we have an update on the how the previous endeavours going?
We've got the...
We have the document here now. I just want to help you with this. Well.
Yeah, I got broken ribs.
Councillor.
Sorry, it's fun. I fell on a stump and broke my rib.
Councillor, did you wish to make a personal explanation?
Yes, thank you. Today I will comply with the recommendation of the Ombudsman and apologise for refusing to vote at 2 council meetings that, in my view, went very much against my moral code. However, I do wish to place on the public record why those events occurred and why I respectfully disagree with the significant aspects of the Ombudsman's reasoning. This matter was never simply about refusing to vote. It concerned a genuine legal question about whether councillors can be compelled to participate in conduct that they honestly and reasonably believe is contrary to the Local Government Act. Section 86, subsection 5 of the Act does not create an absolute obligation to vote. It expressly states that councillors must vote subject to a provision of this Act to the contrary. And in my view, the Ombudsman failed to properly grapple with those qualifying words and instead treated the obligation as effectively unconditional. In one matter, the CEO expressly confirmed that confidential information had been removed from documents distributed externally, and further confirmed that confidentiality was not being maintained pursuant to the Local Government Act. Despite that, the material continued to be treated confidentially. And in my respectful view, that raised a serious and unresolved legal issue which the Ombudsman declined to properly determine. And that was that council was keeping information confidential that it should have released to the public. In the second matter, the council considered a draft long-term financial plan that was, by my best calculation, some $80 million inconsistent with the adopted asset management plans of this council. Legal advice obtained by the council stated that our draft financial plan should be consistent with our adopted asset management plans, and under section 122 subsection 1b of the Act, it is a requirement that this council comply with its asset management plans, which it was not doing.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Lord Mayor, this sounds awfully like a relitigation of past debates around the financial performance of the council, which we've been entirely clear and transparent about, and the latest version of that is released in our annual budget business plan. So I'm not seeing how that's relevant to the matter before us.
I think that the councillor is relitigating the issue, but this is the apology that he wishes to give. So this is the apology we will hear, and then the decision will be made about accepting it.
Thank you. Now, there was an independent report into the publishing of our financial plans previously, stating from an independent that they were inconsistent with section 122 1b, which is a breach of the Act. And in my respectful opinion, an inconsistency of that magnitude raised a legitimate question as to the legality, which was not properly addressed in this report. I also remain concerned that issues involving conflicts of interest of this council, where councillors vote for themselves to receive a financial benefit, has not, where they do not raise a conflict of interest.
Here we go again. Absolutely nothing to do with the apology the Ombudsman asked for. Can we ask the councillor to stick to the script?
I think this is the apology that he wishes to give. It may be relitigating the issue and it may be irrelevant to the apology, but it's not our position to make that decision.
Well, Lord Mayor, look, out of kindness to the councillor, could you not point out that this is likely to irritate the Ombudsman?
I think that I'm trying to help Councillor Davis stay on track, and I don't know that he would appreciate any more advice than I'm giving him.
I appreciate it, Lord Mayor. Thank you very much. Very graciously handled. It is true that councillors in this council chamber vote for themselves to receive additional money, and yet the Ombudsman has not...
Point of order, Lord Mayor. This has absolutely nothing to do with the matter at hand, and it's absolutely inappropriate.
I'm almost finished.
I take advice from the administration because I'm not sure that I would want to interrupt the flow of your dialogue.
I'm about 20 seconds until we're all finished.
I think that it would be appropriate to let the councillor finish because this is what he believes is required, and we should give him the opportunity to perform his task.
I think you'll note how quickly people jump to interrupt me when we talk about matters of integrity. Now, there is no settled judicial authority on any of these issues. Reasonable legal minds can differ. In fact, lawyers only win half the time, if you think about it. My conduct was open, transparent, and based on legal concerns I raised contemporaneously with this chamber about breaches of the Local Government Act, and I put them repeatedly on the public record. Nonetheless, I acknowledge the findings of the Ombudsman, and I apologise for not complying with the voting requirements as interpreted by the Ombudsman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. We have already voted on this matter and we will act in accordance with the instructions of the Ombudsman. I'm now going to return to the item that we had earlier, which was related to the motion without notice.
Can I move that we go into informal session so we can have an explanation of these?
Councillor, could you sit down? I'm running the meeting as best I can. The Section 18, Regulation 18 requirement usually refers to a confidential item. We have this document out, but of course it's not confidential. It's a publicly available piece of legislation.
Nor is it a document of council.
And it's not a document of council. So in many regards, we've been generous in getting this information out, but it's not a requirement under the section. I think that we could have some questions at the moment and have 5 minutes of informal discussion. Councillor, do you have a question?
I'm happy that we move into an informal session so we can better understand the legislation that's before us.
I don't think we actually need your advice at the moment, but I thank you, Councillor. I'm the presiding member. Could I ask if someone would move that we move into it? Councillor Snape, seconded by Councillor Kabada. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you. 5 minutes. So Councillor Marr has his hand up, but Councillor Kabada has the call because he began this issue. Councillor Kabada, would you like to ask a question?
Can administration confirm whether Section 68 is actually the correct section to cite for requests to the South Australian Premier?
Through the CEO to Mr. Harides.
Mr. Harides.
Thank you, and through the chair. The sections mentioned, including Section 68, are appropriate sections to be referenced for referral and self-assessment.
And 71 as well?
Sections 68 refer to self-referral, Section 70 to the Federal Minister to consider calling the matter in, and Section 71, the Federal Government Agency, to refer to the Minister. So they're all appropriate sections under the Act.
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Clarify the jargon. A call-in is when the Minister decides that it will be investigated. Councillor Davis.
Yeah. So my question is relating to Section 67. What exactly is a controlled action? Because it says if the taking of the action by the person without approval under Part 9 for the purpose of the provision would be prohibited by the provision. So is chopping down the trees in North Adelaide prohibited under Part 9 of the Act?
Thank you, Councillor. We'll get an answer for you.
Mr. Harides, noting the technicality of the operation of the provision, perhaps some advice would be helpful.
Thank you, and through the chair, and to extend on that point, CEO, I'd be loath to interpret on behalf of the federal agency how they would interpret the various actions that may trigger what's deemed a controlled action. But by way, the best I could probably offer is by way of example. Controlled actions are the types of actions, by example, that may contravene national heritage values, and the Adelaide Parklands are nationally heritage listed. That may impact threatened species, and these are listed species within the Act, and they are identifiable, of which there are these types of species within this portion of the Adelaide Parklands. And a further example may be impacts to threatened ecological communities. So it's a group of animals or species also listed and are identifiable within the Act and are also located within the Adelaide Parklands. So they're examples of controlled actions. It may also be the cumulative impacts of these controlled actions, and that's for determination by the federal government.
Councillor Kabada, can we help you any further? Councillor Davis.
So if that's the case then, that the like, I would say that this is absolutely falls within that, particularly with the State Heritage Register. Why has the council waited until the trees are starting to fall now before this has come to our attention? Why hasn't the council sought legal advice well before this was the case, when we first became aware that we had the right to appeal to a minister? And in fact, we have the right through judicial review to force the minister to intervene in this matter.
I think that we have made referrals, and we do make referrals, and people understand how that's done.
What? So we have made this referral already, or we have not?
No, I think that...
So my question is, why haven't we sought legal advice?
Who's we?
The council.
You?
Yeah, me.
You are the council.
Why has the council, by this council here, not gone and followed this process when we're waxing lyrical about how much we care and all the things we could have done? I mean, I remember sitting in those confidential meetings as well when we first became aware. Why have we done nothing to pursue this course of action the entire council term? Why are we only finding it out now when we've got trees lying on the floor?
Lord Mayor, if we're in informal, I'm happy to very briefly answer the particular question of the councillor, and that is that this option was only brought to my attention around 4 days ago, and very quickly myself and other councillors moved once we realised this was an option, especially as we knew the timeline was limited, to bring it to the first council meeting possible and to proceed down this option, which is why it is a motion without notice, and it's why I encourage you to support this.
I think that one can argue about why something wasn't done. That the council is moving this motion today, irrespective of the requests that we've had for self-referral.
My understanding is that that a party, if a minister is not inclined to follow an action, that a member of the community or a member of the public can or could write and seek that the minister exercise their right in a given way, and essentially compel the minister to take a certain action.
I don't think we can compel the minister to do anything. I'm sorry, that's not possible.
Like under judicial review, we can do that because they do look at ministerial decision-making processes. Is that something the council can do?
I don't know if we would take advice on judicial review, but the advice we had was that the legislation removed most of the local powers we had. This any better than we have, Councillor Kabada. So whoever moved it was Councillor Ma. It was seconded by Councillor Snape, who's spoken. I think everybody's spoken except...
I do have a question.
Another question?
So essentially, we as a council were informed and were told and accepted that the council, there was nothing we could do. Why is this information not being presented to us far earlier in the process? Why is it waited until now?
I think we've had briefings extensively about this matter. The EPBC's been discussed in Caterpillar. It's been discussed frequently, so I can't say why people haven't noticed it. Councillor Kabada, the 5 minutes is up. You started to speak. Did we have enough time? We still have a couple of minutes. We still have time, Councillor Kabada. We've gone back into formal now.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I will support this motion. What Councillor Snape said about me trying to delay this motion is not true at all. I was trying to get advice. We're citing an act that's just come before us now and been asked to vote on something which I don't understand. I don't think anyone would ever sign anything without understanding it. So saying that I don't support the parklands or that I don't want this to happen is just false. I just like to understand what I'm voting for before I vote for it, which I think is reasonable and fair. Based on the information provided before us, I will support the motion. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Thank you for your comments, Councillor. Councillor Martin.
Lord Mayor, I am conscious that there's a lot of flip-flopping going on in the room in relation to the sequence of events leading to where we are tonight. And let there be no doubt that the sequence of events that you outlined earlier tonight is the way it happened. The council sought to moderate the intentions of the government and sought to do so in a way that it thought would help to protect the parklands. We were, and I don't mince the words at all, we were double-crossed. The Premier waited until you were out of town and made an announcement that the government would take over the parklands. Now, I'm not going to talk about all of the confidential meetings that occurred because I can't. But I was there, Councillor Davis was there. I understand all the advice that was given to us. To be suggesting now here, when all of us have been privy to that advice, extensive advice about legal options open to us, about strategies, to imply that this is some kind of last-minute gesture is disingenuous. We are vitally concerned.
Would you sit down, Councillor Martin? Councillor Davis.
To say this is a last-minute gesture, it is a last-minute gesture, and I don't believe we were ever provided with advice on this.
That is not a point of order. Thank you. Councillor Martin.
Lord Mayor, why can't he be helpful? Why can't he assist us? Why?
I don't think we can speak to the intentions or the personality of other councillors.
Well, I was lamenting, Lord Mayor. It would be so much easier if everybody was on board. If everybody was on board, we could actually achieve something.
Councillor Davis, please do not engage in conversation across the chamber. Councillor Martin has the floor. Councillor, we don't want a discussion. Let's be orderly here.
Well, we can't be orderly, Lord Mayor. We can't even seemingly speak with one voice about our parklands. The majority view of this council is that any action at any time that protects our parklands is worthwhile action. Vote for this. If you don't vote for this, then people will be confused about your intentions, everybody's intentions. If you support the parklands, support this motion.
Councillor, can you avoid indicating who should do what? I think.
Oh, Lord Mayor,
yes, that gesture is fine. Yes, that's a good gesture. Councillor Marr, would you like to sum up?
Yes, thank you.
With moderation, please.
No, don't do that.
The Premier has done his best impression of Darth Sidious with his effort with this North Adelaide Public Golf Course Act. Someone has brought it to his attention that this is possible, and he has said, I will make it legal. He hasn't. He's missed a couple of steps. In this case, he hasn't made the referral to the Environmental Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act that he is required to have made, in my opinion, because I do believe that this is a controlled action that needs an assessment. Now, it's not for me to determine that it is or is not a controlled action. That is up to the department and the minister at the Commonwealth level. What we should be doing as the local council, what we have a responsibility for, what we have had a responsibility for the last 2 centuries, is the care, control and protection of the parklands for all South Australia. This is one of the few things that we can do in this instance. The council has been entirely dealt out of this equation by the North Adelaide Public Golf Course Act. We have tried to engage in good faith. I know Councillor Martin's referred to the various confidential meetings that Councillor Davis says did not happen.
No, they did happen. I was there.
Councillor Davis, please do not engage in conversation. Otherwise, we will be calling an 8668.
Now, at some point in time in the future, the details of those will become public, presumably. It may be a year, it may be 5 years, 10 years. But eventually everyone will be able to see how this council has tried its hardest to protect the parklands, as we have been charged with for years. I think this is a no-brainer, and I'd like to move on to the rest of the meeting now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. I'll put this to the vote now. On block together. All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you, members.
I have a motion without notice that you don't know what it is, but it's come up after reading this. Under section 68, subsection 1, it says a person proposing to take an action that a person thinks may or is a controlled action must refer the proposal to the minister for the minister's decision as to whether or not the action is a controlled action. So that means, and you might have to help me craft a motion, but it would seem to me that this is a controlled action and that referral has not happened, right? And so the state government has not made that referral to the federal minister. So my motion would be that the council receives urgent legal advice as to whether the council can bring an injunction to require the minister to notify the federal minister that he intends to take a controlled action. And that, as Councillor Martin suggested, is my assistance, which would stop the felling of the trees if such an injunction was taken by this council or a member of the community. But I would request that legal advice be sought onto whether the government has properly complied with section 68, subsection 1 of the Act, and whether we could seek injunctive relief until the minister has determined whether this is a controlled action.
I'm not sure the wording here. I seek advice from the administration.
Me too.
What the council seeks rather than receives. As to whether the council,
Or person.
there's no person. It's the body corporate. It's an instruction to seek legal advice.
I think it's just an instruction to seek legal advice, isn't it? Isn't that where we should stop? Seek legal advice. Can you help me? It's drifting off into.
As to whether the council can bring an injunction.
I don't think an injunction's the action that you take under these circumstances.
An injunction or other action.
Just a moment, councillor. Can you sit down?
I'm very helpful though.
It's to prevent the state government taking a controlled action. That's your intent.
That's what you want to do, to prevent a controlled action.
No, it's to force. So my understanding of section 68 in the 5 seconds that I've read it is that a person proposing to take a controlled action must make a notification to the federal minister. They have to. And in these circumstances, if the state government has not notified the federal minister.
I think that they do make.
If I might assist.
They do make notifications, but there's often no investigation.
If I might assist.
Can we ask Mr. Haridis?
Through the presiding member, a person proposing to take an action that person thinks may be or is a controlled action, that's what the section hinges on.
That's right.
But it presumes the decision-making of a third party,
Yes,
which in this case is the state government.
correct. And my understanding is that the Supreme Court can compel a minister to follow
Yes,
Commonwealth
Councillor,
legislation.
Can we just have a moment while we just mull over your words?
Can I ask for leave, Lord Mayor, for 5 minutes whilst you guys work this out?
I'm sorry?
Can I ask for leave of the meeting for 5 minutes whilst you work it out?
That would be helpful.
Sorry? Okay. I'm happy. Will that help us?
We'll do our best.
realities of apartment and complex living, the pressures around waste, security, parking, including EV challenges and governance, the impact of short stay accommodations, mixed-use tensions, congestion, and the difference between a building existing and a neighbourhood genuinely functioning well long-term. Adelaide is already overwhelmingly a medium and high-density city in terms of dwelling form. So this is no longer simply a future planning conversation. It is a current governance and livability issue. The intent of this motion is therefore to begin a broader and more structured conversation around apartment and complex living, resident representation, and how council, industry and government can work together to support a growing residential city in a more holistic way. Importantly, this is not anti-development. In fact, many ratepayers I've spoken to strongly support residential growth and increased population in the city. But density only works well when it is accompanied by good livability outcomes, strong governance, effective precinct management, and meaningful residential engagement. Otherwise, we risk building density without creating long-term communities. I also think there's an opportunity here for the City of Adelaide to demonstrate leadership. Many of these issues identified in many strategies are beyond Council's powers alone and will require the collaboration with state and federal government, CBS, SAPOL, the Property Council, strata and community title stakeholders and residents themselves. That is why concepts such as the City Residential Committee, a stronger apartment association, which is forming as we speak, and more formal resident participation deserve consideration as part of the broader conversation. Again, not to stop development, but to ensure Adelaide evolves as a city where people can not only move into apartments, but choose to live in them and stay living in them over the long term. I hope that my fellow councillors actually support this motion.
Thank you, Deputy Lord Mayor. Councillor Stevens seconded, then Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I just want to thank the Deputy Lord Mayor for bringing this motion before us. I know for many of the residents I speak to, they didn't shift into the city to become a spectator. They shifted in the city because they wanted to have a say and be part of shaping this great city of ours. The Deputy Lord Mayor has mentioned elements such as in relation to apartments and complex living, around waste management, EV and various other issues. Also note the comment that's been made that many residents are not anti-development. It's about shaping the development that best suits our city as it continues to grow towards our 2036 population target. So I thank the Deputy Lord Mayor for bringing this before us. I think it's an important opportunity for those living in apartments and in complex living to have their greater say as part of our city growth.
Councillor Davis.
I don't know what this does. I'm trying to say that respectfully. I know that we've got a name as a question. We've got a name, City Housing, Apartment and Complex Living Roundtable, and who we're inviting. But then we're already doing this in May. How does this differ in any way from what we're already doing? What's the overlap that doesn't exist?
Administration. Can someone help me, please?
Through the presiding member, I draw councillors' attention to item 4 of the administration comment. There are currently 2 roundtables that are in various stages of planning, an event to be held in May this year to discuss policy and barriers, the Lord Mayor's annual homelessness roundtable to be held in August. Should this motion be supported by council, we will arrange and facilitate a 3rd roundtable specifically around apartment and complex living.
Councillor?
Yeah, how does it differ from what's already proposed? Is the only difference that we're still inviting all these bodies, but we're just asking people who are living in them to come along? I would have thought that you would already be asking people who live in apartment complexes to come to these roundtables?
I'm not able to answer that. Can we have some help from the administration? Maybe Mr. Haridis. He looks as if he knows what this means?
We wouldn't propose to enter the debate. I mean, the three roundtables are quite distinct. It's a matter for council.
No, but my question is there, I'm asking genuinely, what is the not overlap? Like, what is the distinct thing that this proposed roundtable will cover that these others won't?
I'm not sure that we can answer that because it's not the administration's proposal.
How will the administration interpret this motion? They have to have some idea of
That's
what
a very
it
good
means.
question. Can you sit down and we'll find out? How will we interpret it if we don't understand it?
Through the presiding member, I've already answered the question. The roundtable scheduled for May 26 is a development industry roundtable. The invitees, the participants, are members of the development industry. The homelessness roundtable is clearly about those agencies that support the provision of services to the homelessness. Quite distinct. What the motion's calling for is a roundtable specific to those living in apartments and complexes. There are distinctions. It's a matter for council.
Sure, if we're already doing it, I don't understand why we're here, but sure. I'm happy to continue on with what we're already doing.
I think that you'll have to vote against it then. Were there any other comments? Councillor Freeman.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'd like to speak in support of this motion. As the CEO very eloquently just explained, while there are forums with the development industry and with service providers regarding homelessness, there is not a forum for residents, nor specifically apartment residents, which is not only a type of dwelling we're seeking to increase in the city plan, but it's also the vast majority of the people that live in this council area. 53.7% of residents in this council area at the 2021 count. So it's, to be honest, a bit odd to me that that cohort of our population do not have a voice, a seat at the table, aren't members on committees we already have. And Deputy Lord Mayor, Councillor Noon and I certainly have heard that feedback from people that live in those apartments. So I think this is a really great way to engage that growing cohort about what services the City of Adelaide should be providing for them. Are they adequate? Are they deficient? For example, the sustainability incentive scheme, could that be more bespoke to make apartment living in the city really sexy and invite more people to come in and give it a try? And I guess lastly, the conversation I just mentioned with the Deputy Lord Mayor and I and some residents, they were apartment residents in the East End who have lived there for about 2 decades and also live in a building that's entirely owner-occupiers. And I can't help but think how unique that is for Adelaide to have such a mature residential population in apartments. They can really help us work out what the problems are in the city and what services we need to improve. So I really welcome this motion. I think the roundtable is an excellent way to start the conversation and maybe will guide us into some more formal conversations that we should put in place moving forward.
Thank you, Councillor. Unless there's an alternate view, I'd ask the Deputy Lord Mayor to sum up. Summed up. All those in favour? All those against? I think you were voting for that, were you, Councillor Davis? Can we vote again? Could you? All those in favour? All those against? That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much, members. I think now we'll ask if there are any other motions without notice. We had a couple earlier. If not, you'll note questions on notice. Any other questions without notice? None. Can I ask someone to move an exclusion for the public in 21? Moved by Councillor Cabada, seconded by Councillor Martin. All those in favour? All those against? Thank you, members. We're in confidence now. Can I